We all hear about horror stories in the studio where sometimes you just can't get the sound you want. Ice on Fire was a comeback for Elton John's 1970s producer Gus Dudgeon, finally coming back to work with Elton after many years. And he thought that Ice on Fire would be, and he decided it would be, Elton John's biggest album. He was excited. They came up with a lot of songs. None of them in the studio thought Nikita was a very good tune because it just lagged on. They couldn't have imagined that it would become such a big hit, but it did. But in this clip, we talk about a certain guitar solo by a certain Canadian for the song Nikita. Take a listen.
Yeah, phenomenal producer. But as an engineer, because what used to happen is I'd set the sound up and there'd be nothing to do for another. I mean, I say that the solo on the one I always use as an example is the solo on Nikita that Fred Mandel recorded. The way I explain it is that people were going off and having babies and stuff, and they come back and we'd still be doing the solo in they go, "You still working on this solo?" You know, but actually when you hear the solo, it's like a film. It goes on forever, but it's a work of art. I mean, that's the thing with the stuff I did with Gus, is no matter what you thought about and wanting to kill yourself when we were doing it, because it used to go on so long, when you heard the results, they were kind of it was worth every effort that was put in, you know. So, but it wasn't easy to work with him as an engineer, you know. The thing is that Yellow Brick Road, the other double album, you know, Blue Moves, I mean, they're epic. The Blue Moves, when I heard that all the way through, and I didn't work on that album at all, it was just the best thing I'd ever heard in my life. Every track was the best thing I ever heard, sound-wise, everything-wise.
You're touching on something now, which I find that Blue Moves of all the Elton John albums is the album that same as you. When I heard that album, I went, and I loved Rock of the Westies, but Blue Moves had so many different genres on it, and there was so much going on.
Yeah, so the thing is that if you didn't have, all I had to do was sit and listen to the final thing. If you had to sit there for 6 months, you couldn't listen to it. Obviously, you can't listen to it in the same way. But to be just sat there and you suddenly hear this, like I heard pretty much the Elton album, to be honest, although I knew the songs. The Elton John album was 60 years on and all that. So you don't hear what went in to make it. You only hear the result. And then it's a bit like, actually, for me, it was Foreigner 4. Foreigner 4, you know, was one of my favorite albums of all time. I don't care if it took 10 years to make that album. I couldn't give a monkey's. It's a piece of work. It's a piece of work. And any time that was spent on it was totally worthwhile, you see, you know. So I appreciate, you know, all the stuff that Gus did. I mean, we did have some fallings out. Well, because he used to smoke dope, you see, at Gus as well, and he'd blow it all over me, and so, you know, sitting there for 18 hours wasn't much fun anyway. But being bloody stoned when you didn't even have a drag on the thing wasn't easy either. I'm falling asleep. I'm trying to keep my eyes open, and he, what with Gus, I can talk about him forever. He's up there on the wall. Hash used to make him more speedy. It has that effect on some people. So the more he smoked, the more he'd be running around the room, you know. I mean, you know, Elton calls him like the captain of the ship. You know, he was, the main thing I learned from Gus in the studio was there's no problems that can't be fixed here. You know, everything is achievable. Certainly it's achievable if you've got the right musicians. Otherwise you've got a problem. But there was nothing that Gus, and there would never be a moment in the, we used to have that with some bands, Hookfoot, I suppose. And there'd always be moments in the studio where everyone's going, well, I don't know. What do you think? Well, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. There would never be that with Gus, because Gus was always in control, would always know what the next step is. And
you had that with Hookfoot, with Roger and Caleb, and
well, because the thing is that they'd all be stoned, you see, and no one was in charge. So that was actually, to be honest, although I just stuck that in, that was the problem with Hookfoot, that there was no leader and there was no one leading the commercial possibilities of that band. So, they were very much a jazz, funk, rock, but there was no, I mean, Gus's focus on what's commercial and arrangement wise for songs, I try and carry that on. I mean, it's all very well having great musicianship, this, that, and the other, but one way or another, you want to sell some records and you want to make them appeal and you want to have them have, a journey and an atmosphere and a passion and everything else that Gus brought to all those. I mean, obviously Elton songs, dictate a lot of that. And you've got to say that the productions that he did with other producers, I can't remember the main guy's name that he worked with from Air. And when you listen to those productions, they're not a million miles different to Gus's in a way. But I just put together a tribute to Gus, actually. If you go on my Facebook, I could send it to you, actually. Someone sent me, American guy if he wrote the tribute, and I put music and it's quite a while ago, but I put music and video to it. It's quite simple. I'll tell you what, when you listen to some of Elton's things that all Gus did, I mean, it's a journey. I mean, it's a journey that he took Elton on, and Elton took Gus on that journey, and it was very much a team at that time, an amazing team.
Yeah. We'll have more from Stuart Epps coming up the next few days. Remember, he produced so many people, engineered a lot of people. He was the engineer on the Coda album with Jimmy Page. Worked with The Firm, Twisted Sister, Elton John, Paul Rogers, Jimmy Page, and a host of others. If you want to get produced by him, he is available. Go to his website, stuartepps.co.uk. Remember, subscribe to our channel. We always love it when you join our team. Like our videos, spread the word, spread the videos on social media, and comment on them as well. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music.